Good morning and welcome to our webinar. Today's webinar is Influencer Marketing on a Budget with WordCraft. It's session 2 and it's called Engaging with Influencers to Create Warm Leads. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't watched session 1 or participated in session 1, please go back and do so. There's links within this webinar and also after the fact that you can go and check it out. So this is session 2 of a 3-part series. So happy you could join us today. Every great webinar is moved forward by great questions. So if you have any questions throughout, please put them in the Q&A at the bottom. It'd be very helpful. If we mention any links or resources throughout, we will share those by email after the fact. So you don't need to worry about writing them down or anything like that. We will share any bits of software or anything like that after the fact. This webinar will be closed captioned, so you can also turn that off if you're not interested at the bottom. We also have it available online at tourismns.ca/webinar-series. So if you like this webinar, please share it with a colleague in the industry. You can go back and rewatch it. You could also go back and look at any of the other webinars we have recorded. I'm hoping you joined us today through Digiport, but if not, I'd really encourage you to sign up for Digiport. This webinar is offered in partnership with Digital Nova Scotia, and Digiport is a one-stop shop for your digital needs. It provides services and educational opportunities that will help tourism businesses develop digital marketing skills and access professional help online. So nsdigiport.ca is the location to join in there. I'd like to welcome Ingrid Deon from WordCraft. She's the founder and CEO of they're the social media marketing agency headquartered in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. Ingrid's specialty is organic social media strategy, content creation, and community management, but as well as getting that message across in a really easily digestible way. So we've had Ingrid on many times. She does she's a presenter for Digital Days where we go out into the communities and has just a real great way of making the message really applicable. They work with large corporations like Nestle and Manulife, as well as small businesses and organizations across the province and the country. So I'm really excited to have Ingrid here. I'd welcome Ingrid to take over my screen and share your knowledge. Once again, if you have any questions throughout, please put it in the bottom. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nick. And thanks to, hang on, I'm just gonna, present here. And thanks to Digital Nova Scotia, Digiport, and Tourism Nova Scotia for having me here again this week. I'm excited to pick up where we left off last week when we were talking about making a list of influencers, how to find them, how to choose the right influencers for your particular tourism operation. And we will get into how to then engage with influencers. So as always, if you have questions, pop them in the Q&A or in the chat as soon as they occur to you. Don't bother waiting. I'm happy to stop and take questions anytime. I love this to be as interactive as possible, and I love all of your questions. So there are no bad questions. They're all great questions. So we will pick up, we'll just get right into it, and we'll do a little recap of last week. Hopefully most of you were here last week, and for those of you who weren't, we'll do a little recap just so you're all up to speed. You can also watch these later on, so if you missed last week, you can watch it afterwards through Digiport. So last week, we talked about identifying the right influencers for your tourism operation. And so these were sort of the key points that we went over. The first one was to choose your social media platform. We are talking about social media in particular, but there are also other platforms like blogs, websites, the media, but we're talking about social media. So the different social media platforms. Are you going to seek out influencers on Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest or YouTube or Twitter or X or LinkedIn? Wherever you get the most engagement is probably the place to choose your influencers. So if you are posting on Facebook and Instagram, and most of your engagement happens over on Instagram, then that's where I would look for my influencers. Most of what we've been talking about is Instagram, just because that is a pretty popular platform for influencers. It's easy to find them. A lot of them are active on Instagram, so it's kind of the main place. But like we mentioned last week, there are influencers on every platform. Identify your niche or your industry. So within tourism, there are many different little tiny niches, little industries, whether that's camping and RVing or family travel or luxury travel or budget travel or ecotourism, adventure tourism, um, cultural tourism, food, all kinds of different niches. So if you can narrow down a little niche that works for you and the people that you want to target with your influencer collaboration, so the tourists that you want to come to your tourism operation, identify that niche and then look for influencers within that niche who will be able to attract the folks that you want to attract. There are different types of influencers when it comes to their level of influencing. And we talked about the different categories based on followers. So nano influencers are smaller influencers, like 10,000 followers or fewer, maybe. Micro influencers are a little bit bigger, 10,000 more. And then mega influencers are like the million kind of really big influencers. They have millions of followers. What we talked about last week was really probably concentrating on the smaller influencers, starting off with them, because they, even though they are a little bit smaller, they still have thousands of followers usually, and they have a lot of influence because people trust them because they're not necessarily doing this as their living, and they're probably more likely to partner with organizations, tourism operations that align with their values, and that they would just attend to, they would go to anyways, they would patron anyways. So we really talked about starting off with some of those smaller influencers. And then analyzing the influencers following and engagement rate. So we went over to Instagram and we looked at a couple of influencers, looked at their followers, looked out for those followers that are just like a gray head where their profile picture is just a circle with a gray clip art head. Those are not necessarily real people, they're just bots. So you want to choose influencers that have the fewest number of those types of followers. And checking out their engagement rate, which is when you add up the likes and comments that they have on a post and divide that by the number of followers that they have and multiply it by 100 to get the engagement rate. We talked about making sure that the engagement rate is above 3% is really great. It means that their followers are engaging with them, which is awesome. You don't want influencers who are posting and then no one's engaging with them, because that's bad, because that means that they're not really influencing people very much. So, and then we talked about starting to make a list of influencers. So you've looked into a bunch of influencers, you've identified some that are within your niche, their audience seems to be engaged, they reflect your target demographic, they're on the right social media platform, you put them in your list. And now we'll talk about how to start engaging with them. So is everyone cool with the recap from last week? Hopefully, and if you are not cool with it, or if you have any questions, just let me know. So we're going to start engaging with influencers. They're not scary, and they are there to be engaged with. So let's talk about how to do it. So the first step is what I like to call proactive engagement. So when you have comments or when you get messages on social media to your business or your organization, that is reactive engagement because you're reacting to them. So you got a comment, you're answering it. That's reactive engagement. Proactive engagement is when you go out and you, as your business or organization, you are commenting or sending messages to other folks. So this is why you've got that list of potential influencers that you might want to work with. and then you're going to start engaging with them. So you're going to follow them. You're going to start looking at what they're posting to make sure that it's the right alignment. I mean, you've already done a little bit of a background check, but you're going to start following them. You're going to see what they're posting, make sure that they look like they're in the right niche and they're the right demographic for your target audience. They're in the right location. They're posting the right kinds of content. The quality's good, or the quality reflects your brand. And then you start liking their posts and you start leaving comments. Because you want to appear in their notifications. You want them to start becoming familiar with you. You want them to say, who is this restaurant that keeps commenting on my posts? I want to check them out. Or who is this tour company that keeps commenting on my posts? They're engaging and they're fun. Who are they? So you'll appear in their notifications. And it's kind of a slow way of getting on their radar. So you're not just like bulldozing your way into their DMs and saying, hey, come stay at my accommodation. You're warming them up. It's a little bit of it's a courtship, right? Think of it as dating. And then you want to track their engagement with you. So you're leaving comments, you're liking. Are they following you back? Have they started following you back? Have they started liking your comments? Have they started commenting on your posts? And when I say leaving comments, I don't mean leaving comments that say, hey, check us out, we're cool. I mean, leave like a comment that has to do with what they've posted, not a salesy comment, we're just warming them up. We're just being friendly. We're just getting into little conversations. So this is one of our clients, and one of the folks on my team does all of the proactive engagement. She's very, very good at it. But she just leaves cute little comments that have to do with the post that one of the influencers posted. So she's got one here, waiting for warmer days. It was a post about, it being cold it's January. And the influencer commented back, same, with some claps. Fun, great. They answered. Then the other one is just kind of a motivational, kind of nice post. And she commented, it doesn't get much better, with the little jazz hands emoji. And then they replied with, it really doesn't. So we're just getting in there. We're just leaving comments. We're being engaging. They're not salesy comments. They're not promotional comments. We're just having conversations. And then they're like, who is this Pico Hospitality that keeps commenting on my posts? So it just kind of warms them up. They become familiar with you, so that when you do send them a message or send them an email, they're like, yes, I remember you. You've been commenting on my stuff lately. So here, this is the way that we do it. And then we track it. So you will receive this spreadsheet if you haven't already. And it's a way that we use to track engagement. So we've got the list of the potential influencers that we've identified from last week. We list them over here in column A. We list the location if it's relevant. I mean, to us often it is, but maybe it's not to you, but we list their location just so we can remember, oh yeah, this person's in Ottawa, this person's in Cape Breton, this person's in Maine, whatever it is. Wherever you're trying to attract potential customers, potential tourists. We look at the number of followers they have, and then we write down whether they follow us. And this one can change over time. So maybe they don't follow us right now, so it's a no, but maybe the next time we update the sheet, it's a yes. So we keep track of that. And then we keep track of the actions that we did. So we commented on a post about Dartmouth on November 18th. And then we keep track of the influencers' actions. So did they like the comment back? Did they comment on our posts? What did they do? And maybe it's just the data nerd in me, but I love this. And maybe this is not the way that you want to do it. Maybe you just keep track in your mind about who is engaging back with you, but you will quickly notice The folks who are engaging with you and the folks who aren't. And the ones who are engaging with you are the ones that I would first approach because they are now familiar with you. They're a warm lead. Like it said in the title of this webinar, they are becoming familiar with you. And then when you reach out, they're probably more likely to say, oh yeah, I remember you. I want to work with you. So you want to do this for a little while. Maybe it's a month, maybe it's, I don't know how long, however long you want. For us, sometimes we do it for several months before we actually reach out to the influencer. But you can do it for any length of time that you want and see who is engaging back with you. There is a question. Are there any tools that would be doing that for us instead of us creating a spreadsheet? Ooh, not that I know of, because if I knew of one, I probably wouldn't be using this spreadsheet. I mean, you can just look back in your notifications periodically and see who is liking your comment, who is liking your posts and who is commenting back. You could do it on a monthly basis or something instead of keeping track every time you're commenting. It depends how much tracking you want, but I don't know of any tools that will track your proactive engagement and the responses from influencers. But that's a great question. And I see there's another comment. Okay, thanks. Yeah. Now I'm like, how do I create a piece of software that will do that? Because that's a great idea and not one that I thought about before. Interesting. Yeah. Leave that with me. So yes, I've shared this spreadsheet with you. It's nothing fancy, but this is how we track who is engaging back with us. So like I mentioned, you're tracking who is following you back, who is liking your comments, who is replying to your comments, who is liking your posts, who is commenting on your posts. And those are the folks that you really want to reach out to. So like I mentioned, we tend to do this for a couple of months. We do it usually on a weekly or twice weekly basis. We'll look at the influencer's most recent post, and we just kind of set aside a half an hour that we're going through our list of influencers. We're liking their most recent post. We're leaving a meaningful comment. And then the next time, if we do it twice weekly, maybe we do it on a Tuesday and a Thursday or something. And then the next time that we're doing it, we're going back and we're looking, did they take any action? And we're tracking that in spreadsheet. You could do it on a weekly basis. You just need to set aside like 30 minutes to do it. Just go through your influencer list. You don't have to do this every day. And just like and leave a meaningful comment and then see what happens. And like I mentioned, you don't have to be quite as granular about tracking. I just kind of love data and I just nerd out about it. So you could just check your notifications every now and then and see who's commenting back, who's liking you back. All right, so you've been doing this for a few weeks. You've noticed some trends. You've noticed some folks are reaching out to you. They're liking your comments. They're replying to your comments. Maybe they've even liked some of your posts. Maybe they've even left comments on your posts. That's awesome. So then you want to reach out to them. You can do this by one of two ways. You can send them a message directly. If we're talking about Instagram, it would be a direct message or a DM. Send it to them right on that platform and say, hey, I've noticed your content. It's really cool. I want to work with you, right? Or some of them will have their email address in their profile, so you could send them an email instead of a DM. On other platforms, there's different ways of private messaging people. Like there's Twitter DMs, there's direct messages over on LinkedIn. You can private message people on Facebook. The same but some of them in their profile will have their email address. Especially if they're a bigger influencer, often they'll have their email address for collabs, for bookings, whatever it is. So you can do it either way. It doesn't really matter which way you choose. But these are a few things that you want to ask them. So last week we talked about analyzing their followers, analyzing their likes, analyzing their comments, making sure that they're not all bots, making sure that they're getting a pretty decent percentage of likes and comments versus their number of followers. But there are some other things that you should ask for them before you decide to collaborate. So you reach out to them, you say, I'm interested in working with you. I would like to, can you send me some things, right? So you want to know the demographics of their followers. And that's something that you can sort of gauge it by looking. Last week we looked at an influencer's followers, and based on their profile picture, the profile picture of their followers, or based on if you click through to their followers, you can kind of see, okay, this person is also in Cape Breton. They look like they're around 25 years old. It looks like they have a lot of female followers. Like, you can sort of gauge it, but they will be able to give you this data really easily. So you want to ask for the demographics of their followers' top 5 cities. They can generate that very easily. It's in their analytics. They will know how to do that. Their followers' age range, and this, again, it's right in their analytics. They can give this to you, and the gender split, if that's important to you. So how many women to men are following them? These are some things that, again, you can't easily get, but they can easily get and give to you, and it's a pretty normal thing. So this will help you make sure that it's the right fit, that their demographics reflect the folks that you want to attract to your tourism operation. Current interactions. So we mentioned last week that you can look at on Instagram, you can see the number of comments, you can see the number of likes, but you can't see the number of shares, and you can't see the number of accounts that have engaged with their Instagram account, like, really easily. Again, this is data that they can gather really quickly, just pull it from their analytics. So the number of times users have engaged with their Instagram account, calculated from the previous week. It's an easy thing that they can grab. And this will help you figure out if they have a lot of different engaged users, or if they have like 10,000 followers and the number of times users have engaged with their Instagram account is like 800, then maybe they don't have a whole lot of folks who are actually engaging with their account. So this will help you. It'll just give you a little bit more data. And then reach. This is something that you can't see. You can only see the number of followers that they have, which, let's say it's 10,000, but you don't really know how many times, like, not all of their 10,000 followers have seen their posts. So their reach will tell you how many of their followers or how many people are actually seeing their posts. And if it's really low compared to what it won't be 10,000 if that's their number of followers. It might be 2,000, and that's okay. But you just want to know how many. If it's 500, that's not so okay. But if it's 2,000, that's okay. We know that not all of their followers are going to see all of their posts. So it'll help you make an informed decision. And when you're reaching out to them and you're asking them for this information, don't guarantee that you want to work together. Just say you're interested in working with them and you would like to know these things. There are a few more things that I'm going to mention that you should ask for. The next thing is a media kit. So some of the smaller influencers won't necessarily have this, but professional influencers will definitely have a media kit. And this is great because it might have all that information that was on the previous slide. And it will also usually say what kind of compensation they're looking for. It might give you a range, like that they are looking for, you know, $200 per post, or maybe it's $2,000. So it'll again give you, like, it's just allowing you to make an informed decision as to whether you want to work with this person. It will also have a bunch of information usually about their followers, information about their data, their analytics, how many people they're reaching, all of that stuff. Case studies are also another thing that you can ask for. And this would be examples of collaborations and campaigns that they've done before, and it'll have the results. So that this campaign that I did with this tourism operation reached so many people, and they got so many bookings because of the collaboration. So those are some more things that you can ask for before you even make the decision to work with them. And this is okay. They're used to this. It's totally okay to ask for all these things. And yeah, they expect it. The smaller influencers, or if there's just like someone within your community who takes really great photos, and maybe they're not an influencer, but they have influence just by the fact that they take really beautiful photos, and maybe they have like 2,000 followers or something, and you would like to work with them. They might not have case studies and a media kit, but they will be able to give you the information on the previous slide. So the demographics of their followers, the current interactions with their followers, and then the reach. And that will help you make an informed decision. And so you also want in your initial conversation with the influencer, you want to let them know a bit about yourself. So you're asking them for all these things, but you also want to tell them about yourself, because they're also going to be considering working with you. So introduce yourself, tell them who you are and what your company or organization does. Give them a reason to work with you. So flattery works really well, especially because you've been following them for a few weeks or a couple of months, and you've been commenting on their posts, you've been liking their posts, so you know what you're familiar with them at this point. So make sure that they know that you've been following them for a little while. You've really enjoyed their content. You love that post that they did when they visited Cape Breton. The photos were beautiful, and you are also looking to work with some influencers to increase your reach and to spread the word about your tourism operation. So use flattery, tell them why you're choosing them, and tell them what you like about them, because that's a great way of fostering that relationship. It's dating, like it's a courtship. So use some flattery, and really sell yourself. Like, say what would they do if they came to your tourism operation? What can they expect? And leading into that, so outlining the project. So what are you hoping to get out of it? Which platform do you want them to be posting on? What are you offering? That being said, you don't need to get right into the money or trade conversation right at first, because you're still both making a decision. So it's really just an intro. So you don't have to say, this is my budget. This is what I'm offering you. I don't have a budget. I'm just offering you a night at our accommodation. You don't have to get into that in your first message to them. Those negotiations can happen once you've both decided that this is maybe a good approach. And also, you might want to wait until you've seen their media kit, because that might have an indication of what they're willing to provide content for in exchange for. So yeah, reach out to them. And there's a lot of things here, I know, but it doesn't have to be a 30-mile long message. It can be in bullet points, just saying that, hey, this is my organization. This is what we do. I've been following you for a little while. I really like your content. Love that post that you did about Cape Breton. Looking to expand our reach and awareness by working with influencers. I'd love to get the following. So demographics, your reach, the engagements that you have. If you have a media kit, could you please send me that too? If you have any case studies, could you send those along? I'd love to work with you so that you can promote my whatever it is. Looking forward to chatting soon. So that's kind of what it looks like. And then you'll get an answer, and then you can decide how you're going to work together. So yeah, it is really a courtship, and you're just trying to feel each other out to see if you want to work together. Does that all make sense? Hopefully it does. Everyone's being quiet. Hopefully you're just absorbing it. And you will get this these slides as always afterwards, so you don't have to furiously write everything down. And there are a lot of different ways that you can collaborate with influencers. So let's say you've done that initial email, they've sent you their data, they've sent you their media kit, and you've decided, yeah, this is a great fit. And then you start negotiating how you're going to work together. So here are just a few different ways that you can collaborate with influencers. It doesn't necessarily have to be that they just do a sponsored post, which is the first bullet point here. That's often what we think about is, you know, it's an influencer, they're going to post about my business, they're going to hashtag ad or hashtag gifted if I'm going to do this. If it's just been a trade where they didn't get any compensation, or hashtag paid, or whatever it is, the hashtag that they use to indicate that it's something that they did because it was a job. There are many other ways that you can collaborate with influencers. You can do a collab post. So this is particularly on Instagram, and you might have seen this on some of the accounts that you follow, but it's when an influencer posts and they have requested to collaborate with the company that they're working with. So through Instagram, you can request to make a collab post, and then the post will appear on both feeds. So this is a great way of reaching way more people with a post that appears on both feeds. So I know it sounds a little confusing, but the influencer will post the post. They will send you a collab request through Instagram. You'll accept it, and it will appear on in your grid, in your Instagram grid. And it'll say that it's by the influencer and you. And so you'll see all of the real-time data on that post because it's appearing on both feeds, and it'll be in your analytics as well as their analytics, which is a great way of you being able to see exactly the results. You don't have to rely on the influencer to tell you this is how many impressions it got, and these are the number of likes and comments and shares and clicks and everything. You can see that because it's on your feed as well. So that's kind of a great way of partnering with an influencer. You can also get them to do a blog post where they post if they have a blog on their website, and if that has a lot of influence and a lot of reach, that might be the way to collaborate rather than over on social media. So that's another way. They could do an Instagram takeover. So you could give them the keys to your social media account for the day, and they could post on your stories. So they could say, hey, I'm here at whatever tour company doing this kayaking tour. I wanted to take you along on the tour. It's a wonderful way of reaching more people because they will probably be posting it on their stories, and they'll say, hey, head over to whatever tour company, head over to their Instagram account today to see what I'm up to. So their followers will go over and follow you for the day, and hopefully stay longer than that, not just follow you for the day, but they'll follow your stories for the day, and hopefully they will follow you so you'll get more followers because they want to see what this influencer is up to. So that's kind of a fun way of collaborating. Of course, you can do all manner of contests and giveaways. Maybe you provide them with a night at your accommodation and they give it away. So they hold a giveaway over on their account, and maybe they make one of the barriers to entry to follow your account as well as theirs. And so that brings in more followers, which is great for you. And it raises awareness of your company. You can also give them an affiliate code or a link. So this is a code, like a coupon code kind of thing, that their followers can use when they're booking through your website, if you have that enabled. If you have Shopify, you can enable that pretty easily. So they can use that code, and then you can track the number of people who have used that code. And that's a way of you generating the return on investment of working with that influencer. Really great way of like seeing exactly the number of bookings that you got through that influencer. So give them a unique code that's the name of the influencer or something, and then you can track that afterwards. That's really a fantastic way of tracking. You can also give them a link. It's a special link called with a UTM, which is a special piece of code that they can use. And then you can track on your Google Analytics how many visits you got from that link. So again, another great way of measuring the ROI of the partnership with that influencer. And I've mentioned this before, sometimes you can just partner with an influencer and just for them to provide you with photos or videos. So maybe they're not even posting on their account, but they take really beautiful photos, and you need some photos for your new website, or you need photos for your social media account. So you agree to partner with them. They'll come visit your tourism operation. They'll take 20 beautifully edited photos that you can then use however you want. So that's a great way of generating some content with maybe, and then this is a way that you can collaborate maybe with someone who's not a really popular influencer yet, but they take really amazing photos, and maybe they'd be willing to do this for you. And you can also hold an influencer event. So these are super fun. You've probably seen them on social media when like a bunch of influencers go to an event, or they go to an area and visit many different tourism operators and they create content. Those are super fun. You can partner with some other tourism operations in your area and all pitch in to provide accommodations and food and experiences to this group of influencers. It takes a little bit of organizing, and maybe your regional tourism organization can help with this. Depends on where you are, or maybe you just have a really nice little group of tourism operators in your area who are super friendly and you like doing things together. So you partner together to offer something. You get like 5 influencers to come and they all create content and you all benefit from it. So super fun thing to do if you have the bandwidth to organize it. And there are other ways of collaborating with influencers. These are just a few of the a few ideas just to get you thinking that it's not just partnering with an influencer and then they do a sponsored post and that's it. You know, there are other things that you can do. I also wanted to touch on what happens if an influencer reaches out to you. Oh, I see there's a question. If you're paying the influencer, what would be the average or normal industry rate? So we're going to talk about that next week. Next week will be the actual collaboration and how that all happens. So I'll talk to you about that more next week. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. So what do you do if an influencer reaches out to you and maybe you've received these kinds of requests before? Maybe a lot of the time they come from very small influencers. I don't mean small in stature. I mean small, not a lot of followers. So maybe they're just starting out. They have like 200 followers and they're looking for companies to partner with to post about them so that they can start to build their portfolio, to build some case studies, to build their media kit. So what do you do when an influencer cold calls you, DMs you, emails you? You don't have to answer right away. I think that's maybe the first mistake that a lot of us do. We get a message from an influencer, maybe it's the first time, and you're like, oh my gosh, this influencer wants to work with me, so I need to respond to them right away. I need to figure out what to say. You want to make an informed decision, just like we're doing with the influencers that we're generating into a list ourselves. So go over to their account and analyze it. Make sure that it's the right fit. Make sure that their audience reflects the target demographic that you want to attract to your tourism operation. And make sure that, maybe if they only have 200 followers and they're in an area that you're not necessarily trying to target visitors from, maybe it's not the right fit, and that's okay. But make an informed decision. Go through their account first, like look at how many likes and comments they're getting. Look at that versus their following. Go through their followers, see if they're just bots. Go through their likes, see if it's a bunch of bots. Yeah, make an informed decision. Analyze it very carefully. You don't just want to say yes to everyone. So if it's a no, I would thank them, let them know it's not the right fit for you at the time, and then tell them you'll hang on to their information in case you ever want to collaborate in the future. That's kind of a basic letting them down gently, being nice about it. And then if it's a yes, then great. Like let the planning begin. Like then we get into what we're talking about next week. So this will happen, especially if you start working with influencers. It'll send out the bat signal to other influencers that you are working with influencers and you're open to it. And maybe they'll come flocking to you, but make sure you are analyzing those potential influencers just like we've analyzed the ones that we've put in our list, and only say yes if it's a big yes. Again, it's like dating. So we're only saying yes to the people we really want to work with. And so that brings us to the end, and we still have 10 minutes for questions. So if you have questions, please pop them in the chat or in the Q&A. You can also always book a one-on-one call with me through Digiport. You can book a 1-hour call so we can go through whatever it is you want to go through, social media related, whether that's influencers or whether that's something else, like getting more engagement on your posts or how to plan your content. Or if you want me to look at your social media accounts and give you some feedback, we can do that as well. So feel free to book that through Digiport or send me a message on Instagram, or my email address is on the screen as well. But yeah, if you have questions, pop them in now. And next week, we'll talk about how to go about, like, what happens once we've decided to work with these influencers. How does that all work? So I'll take you through all of that, the fun stuff. It's all fun, but it's kind of the most fun stuff. All right, there
So
is a
Sunny
question.
put a question in there. What information do influencers expect to be provided when initially requesting they attend an event or promote a brand?
What influencers do they expect to be provided? Yeah, good question. So you want to provide them with, and again, this is something that we'll talk about a bit more next week. But I'll talk to you about like speaking points that you want to provide them before you work together. So you want to make sure that they have the right information about your tours or your accommodations or your museum. So you would have, and again, we'll talk about this some more next week, but you'll have, well, I'll talk to you about how to develop those speaking points that you will give them so that they're telling people the right information. You also want to provide them with exactly what you're giving them. So no one's confused. You want to have a contract. And again, we'll talk about that more next week, what goes into that contract and what you should, what everyone should expect on both sides. Are influencers losing relevance? Ooh, that's great. I sometimes some of the bigger ones are, but I don't think it's going anywhere yet. It's influencing is sort of shifting. Before, it used to be a thing that really only professionals were doing. But now it's a thing that almost anyone can do. So anyone who has influence, whether they have only a few followers or a lot of followers, anyone can be an influencer. So I don't think it's going anywhere. It's just shifting where maybe it's becoming more authentic and smaller influencers with a smaller reach are brands are noticing that their value because their followers are often more engaged and trust them more because they know that they're not necessarily doing this just for the money or they're not doing it as their job. They're doing it because they care deeply about the organization or business that they're partnering with. So it's shifting, but it's not necessarily losing relevance. That's a great question. Any other questions? Um, Another question. What is a common mistake you see people making when using influencer marketing to promote their business? Love that. Um, I think it's just partnering with the wrong influencers. So if there's an influencer that you really like, but their audience doesn't necessarily reflect who you want to target. And this is something that one of my clients did. They did an influencer campaign. They chose really great influencers who were creating really great content, who had a lot of influence, a lot of followers, did some shiny, beautiful posts. These influencers, their audience they were nowhere near the people that the business was trying to attract. So it fell flat completely. It was a financial institution and they partnered with, like beauty influencers and fitness influencers who talked about this financial institution when really they should have been partnering with personal finance influencers because their audience is really interested in finance. And the beauty influencers, their audience is not interested. I mean, some of them might be, but for the most part, not interested in finance. So you really have to, when we're doing that analysis of the influencer's followers and the folks who are engaging with the influencer, you really want to make sure that that is the right fit for the people that you're trying to attract, because otherwise you've created this great campaign with a really great influencer and it didn't reach the people that you want to reach. And so it wasn't a match because the people who saw it didn't see themselves as someone who should go to your tourism operation. So you really want to make sure that has the right alignment. Other mistakes are maybe not getting clear on what the agreement is and then someone getting hurt because they didn't get what they thought they were going to get. So we'll talk about that next week, about making sure that everyone's clear on what the expectations are on both sides. I would say those are probably the biggest ones. Yeah, it's such a shame when it's just not the right fit. You got to make sure that really analyze their audience. And that's why it's so important to get that information from the influencer before you decide to go ahead. You want to get the information about their demographics, about their reach, about their engagement, to make sure that everything aligns. These are great questions.
These are great questions, and I'm not sure if you covered it there, or if we want to look at it next week. But it also would be interesting to look at the question of, like, so things went wrong.
Yeah.
How do you salvage what you can get out of
Oh, I
that?
love
Which
that.
we've all been in those situations. So, and again, I would encourage anyone on the call to, if they're interested in delving a bit deeper, to book that one-on-one with Ingrid. It's no cost to you, and it's available through Digiport. It's a valuable tool that you can use. So, if there aren't any more questions, I don't believe there are. I'll take back over, and thank you, Ingrid, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome.
And we'll
Thank
see you
you.
next Thursday.
Super.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so thank you for joining us today, and come back next week for session 3 with Ingrid, influencer marketing on a budget, 10 o'clock on January 25th. The week after, we have a great session, AI Chat GPT 101, that's presented by Trailblaze AI. And if you haven't looked into it yet, Chat GPT and AI is really a really relevant tool that you can use for your business, to help you save some time, which all small business owners want to save time. If you love this webinar, you'd like to share it with anybody else, please check us out and share it either through Digiport or tourismns.ca/webinar-series. They're all there. And if you need to go back and review anything, it will be there as well. If you have any ideas for upcoming webinars, please send us an email at tnsbusiness@novascotia.ca. Our corporate website is tourismns.ca. Our consumer website, our call to action on all of our marketing is novascotia.com. Many of your businesses would be there, and if not, they should be. We would encourage you as well to sign up for our news and resources section. So this is an opportunity to not miss any of our programming, webinars, any relevant information that we may have. So sign up. Tourism NS News and Resources. Our corporate Twitter or X account is Tourism NS, and we are on LinkedIn at Tourism Nova Scotia. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful day.